Evening all, welcome to the Broadfield Stadium in Crawley, where Norwich City's early season optimism has suffered a bit of a setback this evening in the League Cup second round, losing 1-0 here to League 2 opposition in Crawley Town. Not a good night in pretty much any way, if you're being perfectly honest. I'm not sure there are too many positives from this. It's just a night which hasn't worked out, and unfortunately it looks like there is a big injury issue to come out of tonight as well, which is Tim Klose. It's only just coming out after the game. Daniel Farke has only just done his media, but from what I've heard, it sounds like they are concerned that Tim Klose has damaged knee ligaments and that he could even potentially be out for most of the rest of the season. It's still right after the game, so obviously we don't know right at this point. He'll need scans and things like that, but that is a major blow, and as Daniel was doing his media, that was certainly the thing that was overshadowing things. So I should probably go from the start in terms of the team. 11 changes made by Daniel for tonight's game. That included 5 debutants. So Ralph Fairman was in goal. He's the first of the debutants. Sam Byron made his full debut, although he had appeared as a substitute in the Premier League. Christoph Zimmermann, Tim Klose back in central defence, both fit again, so that was an optimistic note at the start of the night. Philip Heiser, another debutant at left back, and then in midfield you had Ibrahim Amadou, who of course we've all been eagerly waiting to see some of. Mario Vrancic started alongside him in central midfield. Then Kenny McLean was on the left. Dennis Shrabeni played in the sort of number 10 role-ish. Patrick Roberts, another debutant, and then Adam Ida, 18-year-old striker, making his professional debut. But unfortunately, things didn't quite go to plan for Adam, and the performance didn't really allow him much of an opportunity to shine, and unfortunately he pretty much had a part in the Crawley goal. I'm not sure if it will officially go down as an own goal, but essentially Crawley took a short corner routine, and then it was Lubala in the 18th minute basically blasted it low towards the near post from the left of the box. Ida desperately tried to make the block, but in the end he just unfortunately turned it past Ralph Fairman, who had dived one way and the ball went the other, and that was the game's decisive goal. That was only in the 18th minute, but things took on a totally new complexion when Klose limped off in the 28th minute. He was tackled by a Crawley player who Kamara, who Daniel after the game has said he has no issue with the tackle and he thinks he slipped into it, so that was why it was quite so heavy. But Klose really limped off, took quite a bit of treatment. There was 6 minutes added on at the break, and yeah, he limped around the far side. You can see behind me there, in front of all the Norwich fans, about 1,300 here tonight, and warm ripple of applause, but you could see he was struggling at that point and wasn't able to carry on. And as I say, Daniel has said after the game that they are very concerned about the state of that knee injury, and given the centre-back issues they've already had, that is a major blow, of course. Christoph Zimmermann did also limp off a tiny bit, although it seems like that's just a minor issue. Daniel said afterwards that they had initially planned to give him 45 minutes, but with Klose going off, they needed to give him a little bit longer. But after 10 minutes into the second half, he had a little back problem, so they decided it was better to be safe than sorry. Dropped Amadou back to centre-back and brought on Buendia, dropping McLean back into central midfield, and Buendia went into the attacking midfield 3. So those are the two big injury issues. But in terms of the game, Crawley were good. They were organised. Once they had their goal, as you can imagine, they didn't commit too much forward, although they were quick and powerful on the counter, to be fair to them. They weren't a total long ball team, but obviously it was sort of League 2 standard or League 2 style as much as anything. Patrick Roberts did hit the post before half time. That was a nice flow move involving Vrancic and Byram. Good little bit of skill to open up the chance, and then fired across the keeper, and the ball just didn't catch enough of the inside of the post to deflect in and deflected away from goal. After Buendia had come on, he absolutely rattled the crossbar with a really good effort, completely beat the keeper, and Adam Ida did have one sort of scrambled off the line where the keeper got a foot to it and the ball was sort of spinning towards the goal line and was hacked away by one of their defenders, and that was pretty much as close as Norwich got, really. There was a fair bit of chaos at either end in either box, and plenty of corners and free kicks, but there were no other major chances, really. Ralph Fairman did make one good save from Palmer, the striker for Crawley, big striker who really did put himself about, and Crawley, as you can imagine, a night like this, were really fired up for it. This place was packed out. They were releasing flares after the goal, and even when there wasn't a goal. So yeah, Fairman did make one save to make sure it was still 1-0, but overall things have not gone well. And of course, at the end of tonight, everybody's looking ahead to what can we read into this in terms of Premier League. What will any of these players be getting into the team against West Ham? I think we can probably safely say that's unlikely as things stand. Grant Hanley was recalled into the Scotland squad today, so that's going to have given him another nice little personal boost. And you would have thought that even if Daniel wants to get Christoph Zimmermann back in, he might just keep his powder dry on that until after the international break. Get Hanley another 90 minutes, him and Godfrey are in their rhythm. Godfrey basically had to play 60 minutes tonight. Did okay, certainly plenty of determination. Amadou did look decent when he dropped to centre back in the second half. Actually, he was probably more noticeable than he was as a midfielder. He looked like he wasn't quite on the same wavelength as everyone, but when he dropped back into defence, he was really good on the ball. There was one moment in particular when he spun on the ball out of a tackle. Obviously, if it goes wrong as a defender, you're in trouble, but he absolutely nailed that. Showed lots of good pace and strength. So there were good signs from him to an extent. Buendia, of course, looked a class above when he came on, but he couldn't quite force things. And I think overall what we saw a lot of tonight was players perhaps trying to force the issue just too much because they knew this is their big opportunity. I think Roberts and Philip Heiser were probably the prime examples of that, both just trying to force things, and because they weren't relaxed, things weren't coming off for them. So a disappointing night overall. In terms of other positives, I'm not sure there's too much you can take from it. I mean, Ralph Fairman wasn't especially busy. Like I say, did make one decent save, was wrong-footed for the goal, so I guess there's no negatives really from him. His kicking was generally pretty sound, although Crawley pressed hard and didn't let Norwich play out from the back easily. Sam Byram had some bright runs from right back, but wasn't really able to deliver with any decent crossing. And yeah, I'm looking for positives for you, but on a night like this, there's not going to be many, is there? When a Premier League team has lost 1-0 to a League Two side, you can't really sugarcoat it, unfortunately. So this is the first time Norwich have lost to lower league opposition in this competition since 2014, when they lost 1-0 at Shrewsbury under Neil Adams. It's the first time they haven't scored in a game, ironically, since the 1-0 defeat to Portsmouth at Carrow Road in the FA Cup third round in January. So shows you just how important Timu Pukki is to them. Josip Dermot's not fit enough to be involved again tonight, and good experience for Adam Ida, but on the whole, I think he was pretty isolated, didn't really get much of a chance to show what he could do, certainly not many opportunities to poach, although there was one incident in the first half where Vrancic had played an absolutely perfect through ball to him, and Ida went clean through, and from where we were sat in the press box, he looked onside, and the linesman looked like he was behind the play. I'm not a linesman, but in the moment, I thought Ida was onside, and the whistle went fairly quickly, and the opportunity was taken away from him. But beyond that, there wasn't many chances for Adam to shine, really. So that's the disappointing thing, really, overall, from exiting the Cup at this stage, is that you've got all this group of players that Daniel really wants to see play, and now they've had those opportunities taken away from them. There won't be a third round tie, they won't be in the third round draw, and we know that Daniel Farke likes to take these competitions seriously, and where the squad is at the moment, I think those games would have been helpful. There is the EFL Trophy, which is at the start of the international break. Is that next Tuesday? It's only a week away. I think I'm getting my dates right there, September 2nd or 3rd, which is away at Oxford, the first group game. So officially that is an under-21s game, of course, but you can play, I think it's 2 over-age outfield players and a goalkeeper, but the regulations for that will get quite complicated, so I will have to check over them, because there's a degree of not being able to change your team too much from what it was for the first teams, for the Football League teams. So I'm not quite sure how that translates to the under-21s without studying the rules. I know they've been updated since Norwich were last in the competition, but I think that's how they stand at the moment: 2 over age and a keeper. So that's one to bear in mind. If Zimmermann is okay from tonight and is able to play in that, then that might be another opportunity to get him some minutes against Oxford, who are a League One side. So in theory should be better than Crawley. So may not be an easy game either, and of course that will mainly be an under-21s team. So I think that just about covers all of tonight's incidents, and it has been an eventful night, but unfortunately a rather disappointing one, and probably can sum it up by saying that Daniel Farke got a yellow card, and we don't see that very often. He was fuming at a tackle on Ben Godfrey on halfway towards the end. To be honest, I didn't think it was too bad. I thought the player had got enough of the ball for it to be a fair challenge. they possibly did dive in, and Godfrey was already on the ball, but Farke was a lot closer to it than me, so I'll bow to Daniel's opinion on that one. But he was absolutely fuming at that, and at half time as well, he sort of marched onto the pitch fuming with the referee and wanting to remonstrate with him. So yeah, an unhappy Daniel Farke tonight, and it's not often that you see him lose his cool. So be interested to see how things develop from here, in terms of these fringe players not going to have too much time to kick on, and of course some very difficult Premier League games coming up. West Ham away on Saturday, which is what we'll all focus on now. Then after the break, Manchester City at home, trips to Burnley and Palace. It's just not going to get any easier. So the guys who weren't involved tonight will probably watch on thinking that their place is fairly secure ahead of the West Ham game on Saturday, and the lads who did play are going to travel home pretty disappointed. But as I say, it's a difficult one to sugarcoat. Head over to pinkun.com to get the full reaction and Daniel's quotes on Tim Klose and Christoph Zimmermann, and we will have everything that you need ahead of the West Ham game. Thanks for watching.